So we bought a new family car recently. Nothing particularly whizzy. I'll just explain my thought process behind why we buy certain cars and what we do. So we weren't planning on buying a new car, family car, for about a month. But the old car we had, which was a Toyota Auris, it was a T-Spirit, 2008, so it was pretty old, good 13 years old. It was in a bit of a state. It had a big old crack on the front bumper, the rear bumper, sorry, which needs to be repaired. The front bumper needed a full respray. Both wing mirrors needs to be resprayed. The interior was a bit of a mess from the previous owners. There was a scratch down the driver's side door. It was just a mess. We bought our house, and then unfortunately my wife got crashed into and our car got written off. We didn't get anything like the money we should have done for it. So had to buy the cheapest car we could at the time, because we'd put lots of money into the property, not just buying it, but renovating it and doing various bits and bobs. So I've been running that car for the last 2 years. We found out after about 6 months the air conditioning wasn't working. So we had a whole summer and a half almost with no aircon, so that was fun. And to fix it was like, I think the Toyota quoted 1,800 quid, an independent quoted 900 quid. It just wasn't worth it for the car that it was. So we got rid of that, thankfully. The clutch was starting to go on it as well. It's an automated manual, and it's known for just being a horrendous clutch. When it changes gears, it's awful, it's slow. It's just a bad gearbox. It wasn't a great car. So typically what we tend to do is buy 4 or 5 year old cars. So this one's just about 6 years, I think. Run them for 4 years or so. So the idea being they're taking the biggest depreciation hit up front. We pick them up, generally do a personal loan on it, so not car finance, but a personal loan through the bank. We pay that off over that 4 years, then we own the car, and then we'll move on to another one. So we paid about 8 for this. I think when we come to sell it in 4 years or so, it'll be worth about 4-ish. We'll then own the car. That'll be the deposit for the next car, and then we'll probably buy something for like 10 or 12 grand and run that. So the reason for the Ford Focus is there's loads of them. There's a dealer right next to us, probably about 2 miles, 3 miles from our house, maybe 5 miles from our house. Either way, pretty close. They're cheap to repair, and they're just good to drive, to be fair. A lot nicer to drive than I was expecting. It's got a nice firm ride, steering wheel, even though it's electric, obviously, steering rack. Has a really good feel to it, especially compared to the Puma that I just had as a courtesy car, which I could move with one finger. It's got all the mod cons you'd expect from a new car to have. And the only thing I've had to do to this is put a boot liner in the back, which I'll show in a moment. Just because we take this car everywhere, right? This is the kind of car you take to shops, we just went to Centre Parks, leave it under trees. And it gets abused a little bit, and you don't mind as much, which is why I tend not to spend a huge amount of money on the family cars, and all that money is really reserved for the toy cars. So I'll do a very quick walk around of it, but it will be very quick because it's a Ford Focus, and let's be honest, everyone knows what a Ford Focus is. So we've got a 2015. My wife only has an automatic license, so we had to get the automatic one. So this is a dual clutch transmission, which is actually really slick, to be fair. It's in a colour we really weren't convinced about before we went to go and see it, but actually it's quite nice. It grows on you. It's not horrendous. It looks quite bad in pictures. It's kind of gold, but not really bright gold. So there you go. It's got a really hard wearing mat in the bottom, so when we go anywhere it's completely protected. Open it up quickly. It's got some quite cool stuff with it. So the windscreen wipers, one comes up like that and the other one comes up like that. So they have a really good wiping motion, which actually clears a huge amount of the windscreen from debris, which I not had that before in any other cars. That was quite a nice little thing to notice. And obviously with Fords, you've got the heated elements on the front windscreen, which is pretty cool too. Not had that before. It's got what they call a sync system. So like all cars now, phone connects to it, like it does in all modern cars. Bear in mind I didn't have this in our older car, I haven't had this for a while now, since we moved house. So it's just nice to get back into a modern car again, to be honest with you. So yeah, that's a bit of a nice seats as well, actually. A bit better than I expected. So yeah, we never really spend more than around £13,000 on the family cars, just because they do get abused, and I don't want to worry about them. And if they get a bit of damage to them, yeah, it'll annoy me, but it's not the end of the world. So pretty pleased, to be honest with you. It's got some pretty cool stuff. Lots of cars you get into, you don't get things like this, so that actually moves forward. So it's a lot more comfortable when you're driving. You've got quite a decent system for putting in cups, which I wasn't expecting, and then when I was playing around, that can come down, and you can actually put a far, far deeper cup in there, or bottle. It's got quite a few charging ports. My daughter was very happy because we've got a USB charging point there for her. All those cables for our phones and tablets and stuff. USB charging point here. A couple of 12-volt sockets. So my daughter was really happy. And also what Ford do, and I think a lot of manufacturers do, but again our old car didn't have it, was they pipe the aircon under the seat to the back under here, so her feet, so she gets nice and cool quite quickly as well. So this is a titanium model, not a titanium X model. So kind of one down from almost top range before you get into STs and stuff like that. But it's kind of got everything you'd expect from a modern car, including a really nice big touchscreen. I know a lot of people don't like touchscreen because you get fingerprints, but I much prefer that to things that are kind of controlled down here by dials and rubbish. They do my head in. So really pleased, to be honest with you. Not had it long, about 2 months. Oh, bogging at me. But yeah, it's kind of everything you'd expect a modern-ish car to be. So a small update on my toy car then. First of all, we've got an up and over garage door. So I'm going to get this removed and put in an electric garage door. That will free up this bar here. It takes up about 7 centimetres of the overall width, and bear in mind this is a single garage door, which in England is pretty narrow. I can get another 7 centimetres here by getting rid of that. The garage door will be mounted one side here and then one side behind here. So that would be nice. It'll be insulated as well because it's going to be quite a noisy car when it eventually comes. So that means when I start it up in the mornings or anything like that, I'll start it in the garage, let it idle, and then take it out afterwards. And I can obviously close the garage door when I'm leaving. The other problem I've got is we've got this stuff at the back of the garage which takes up a huge amount of space. So by putting an electric garage door in, a little bit of a cavity in it like this, it gives us a bit more space, and also by putting the electric garage door in, it helps the neighbours and it gives me some more width on the opening of the garage. So that's quite important for me and for my neighbour's sanity, because it is going to be quite loud. So originally I was hoping to have the new car by now, or at least in the next 4 weeks, but I think everyone's probably aware the market's gone ballistic on used cars, and therefore it's kind of pushed the car I wanted up by about 5 or 6 grand, and I'm pretty convinced they're going to take a hit in the next 6 to 12 months and come back down to the prices they were back in January. So my plan, unfortunately for me, is to buy something like a 5-6 year old Fiesta, run that for 6 to 12 months, get it hopefully with a 12-month service and 12-month MOT on it. Because again, they're pretty cheap, there's lots of them. I'm hoping I wouldn't lose more than about £1,000 in depreciation in that over that 6 to 12 months, maybe a little bit more, maybe 1,500 quid. And then when the right car that I'm looking for becomes available, I'll then jump into that. But unfortunately, I'm not going to be having many car updates on this channel for probably the next 6 to 9 months in terms of toy cars, because the market just is stupid. And if I was to buy a car now, I would take that 5-6 grand hit in 12 months time, which is just ridiculous. It's not about affordability. I can afford to take a 6 grand hit, but why would you? And it really irritates me when people on forums when they're like, oh, if you can't afford to take a 5 grand hit on depreciation, you can't afford the car. That's absolute rubbish. I can afford the depreciation, lots of people can, but if you can avoid it by being a bit more patient, you'd be stupid not to. So unfortunately, I'm probably going to miss this summer of fun, which is a real pain. I've been waiting a long time to get back into a really good fun car. Obviously sold my smart car in anticipation for this, but when I obviously I put a deposit down, I'll put some videos out there and update what it is and the journey of that, because it will be the toy car. Like I said before, it's going to be a V8 hopefully, around £40,000, either rear wheel drive or all wheel drive, coupe. So you can have your guesses as to what that is, but that's the plan for the moment. So it's not all glitz and glamour. You know, you've got to try and choose where you put your money in these things. And for me, the family car, this more than does the job, and the money and the fun kind of goes into the toy car. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this one. We'll keep it for 4 years, and then we'll chop it and change it for something newer. But that's how we run our 2-car garage, really. Cool. Well, when something new happens, or hopefully sooner rather than later, hopefully I can put a more fun video clip up about the toy car. Until then, cheers guys.